Let's dive right in because there is a massive battle being waged over the future of American education. And this isn't just about test scores or budgets, it's a deep, fundamental conflict over the entire purpose of school. And it all boils down to one simple question. Are our schools designed to serve the system, or are they there to serve the child?
This quote, it just stops you in your tracks, doesn't it? It's from a veteran Montessori teacher, and it perfectly captures the stakes of this whole debate. What happens when the rules of the system are in direct conflict with the needs of the very students it's supposed to be helping?
So, to really understand what's going on, we have to look at the story behind that quote. It's a story about one teacher, one classroom, and a quiet act of rebellion after the pandemic. Okay, so picture this. Kids are finally back in the classroom after all the lockdowns, but they're not really there. They're checked out, disengaged. And their teacher realized that just throwing some catch-up software at them wasn't going to cut it. The real mission? It was to bring them back to life, to reignite that spark and that love of learning through things like art, music, and actual hands-on work. And then everything changed. A new principal shows up with a very different priority: strict, top-down compliance. Everybody had to follow the district's workbooks and ed tech programs to the letter, no exceptions. This teacher was told in no uncertain terms that if she didn't get in line, her job was on the line. And that's where the fight really began. So here's the breakdown, right? You've got these two totally opposed philosophies. On one side, fidelity to the program. It's one size fits all. You follow the script. On the other side, fidelity to the child. This teacher was using tailored methods, Montessori math, a custom reading boot camp, because her kids were 2 to 3 years behind. She had to meet them where they were. So what happened when they stuck to the program? Well, let's look at the grade right above our teacher's class. They followed the mandated curriculum perfectly. Their passing rate? 17%. And the classroom that focused on the child? The one that broke the rules? 67%. Way above the district and even the state averages. The data could not have been clearer about which approach was actually working for these kids. But here's the thing. The success didn't matter. You'd think those results would make her hero, right? Nope. She was ultimately pushed into early retirement, not because she failed her students, but because she succeeded in a way the system wasn't built for. She was told, once and for all, her job was fidelity to the curriculum, not to children. Now, this teacher's story is heartbreaking, but it's not some isolated incident. It's really a symptom of a much, much larger problem. Let's zoom out and look at the national picture. It's not just a feeling people have. The data backs it up. A 2023 Pew Research survey found that more than a half of all American adults believe public education is headed in the wrong direction. There's this widespread sense that something is fundamentally broken. And you can see the cracks showing up everywhere. We're seeing math and reading scores drop to the lowest they've been in decades. We have massive teacher shortages, kids are missing huge amounts of school, and of course, these intense political battles are raging over what should even be taught. The system is under incredible strain. Okay, so if the current system is in crisis, what's supposed to replace it? This is where things get really fascinating, because two very different, very powerful visions for the future of learning are coming into focus. Let's unpack the core philosophies driving this whole debate. In one corner, you've got the vision of Dr. Maria Montessori. She was a physician, a scientist, and she saw the child not as an empty bucket to be filled with information, but as a sovereign being, born with their own internal drive to learn and discover. And in the other corner, you have a techno-libertarian vision, and its most famous champion is Elon Musk. He basically sees the current system as totally obsolete, and he's proposing this radical alternative driven by AI and geared towards the skills needed for a very specific technological future. Let's really put these two worldviews side by side. For Montessori, a child is a sovereign being. For Musk, a child is a high-potential system to be optimized. For Montessori, learning is self-directed. For Musk, it's more like a video game, driven by engagement. Who decides what's learned? For Montessori, it's the child's own developmental needs. For Musk, it's the founder's vision. And the teacher? A guide on the side versus being replaced by an AI tutor. And this last one is crucial: scale. Montessori's methods were designed for the poor and are now used all over the world. Musk's schools serve a few hundred very wealthy children. All right, let's talk about the elephant in every room right now: artificial intelligence. It's the biggest disruptor on the horizon.
So how do these two completely different visions deal with a world where machines can do so much of what we've traditionally taught in schools?
This is the question that changes everything. It forces us to reevaluate what school is even for. I mean, if an AI can solve complex math problems and write a perfect essay in seconds, what exactly are we supposed to be teaching our kids?
Musk's answer is essentially to double down on the skills that he believes machines can't replicate, like creativity and ethical reasoning. The goal is to train students to compete with AI. Montessori's answer is totally different. For her, the goal was never to compete with machines. It's to cultivate the very things that make us human: our character, our dignity, our ability to make our own choices.
And there's a really deep irony here. One of the ethical case studies used in Musk's schools asks students to debate whether it would be a good idea to be governed by a super intelligent AI overlord. Think about that. In an effort to teach ethical reasoning, the exercise itself actually normalizes the idea of surrendering our own human agency to a machine. And all of this leads us to the ultimate question, the one that's underneath all the others. Who gets to decide? Who holds the power to shape what a human being becomes? This isn't just about teaching methods anymore. It's a political fight about agency and control.
So what's a potential path forward? Well, here's a vision for what's been called a democratic praxis in education. It's a different way. It would start with universal early childhood ed, and it would put decisions about curriculum back in the hands of communities, of families and teachers. It would treat AI as a tool, not an authority, and it would focus on real, tangible equity, not just the illusion of choice.
When you really boil it all down, the entire conflict is this: who does the child belong to? Do they belong to their own internal developmental nature, the way Montessori saw it? Or do they belong to the technological future that's being designed and built by a small handful of visionaries?
And we'll end with this powerful idea from Dr. Montessori. It's a critical reminder that at the heart of all these debates over systems and technology and curriculum, there is a human being. So the real question for all of us is, in our frantic rush to reform education, are we just trying to optimize a problem? Or are we trying to honor that hope and that promise?